What's up, preppers? I just wanted to put a new video out there for the beginners. I've done similar videos before for starting prepping for the first time, but I wanted to do a bit more of a in-depth discussion for anyone just starting because it's all about encouraging people to start. I've been inspired by my recent podcast with Dan from startprepping.co.uk, so go and check that out. There's much more detail on there. But what I want to take you through is the very basics of where you should start and what you should do. Now, I'm not going to tell you what to buy, and I'm not going to fill you with Amazon links and all that lot. I'm literally going to go through how to think about things. So when you start in prepping, I mean, something must have inspired that. So something must have triggered that. There must be a reason you want to prep. If you just want to be generally prepared, which a lot of people are for day-to-day things, then this guide's great for you as well. Okay, so point one is not buying anything. You can do this with a piece of paper and a pen. You can do this just sat there in your own thoughts, because step one is plan. I've put bug in or out because this is all around your plan. The first thing you need to do is plan what you're going to do. If you're prepping for a certain situation, what are you going to do? Is your house secure? Are you going to stay here? Are you going to get out? Are you going to go to somewhere else? It all needs to be planned. Without the plan, you're just going to be buying blindly, filling shelves, and then when it comes to something happening, you're going to be just as flustered and panicked as everybody else. So I can't emphasize this one enough. If anything, I didn't do this when I first started prepping. I started buying things. I started adding things. And it's only the afterthoughts when I thought, well, actually, if I want to do this, I'm going to actually need something like that. When I started to think about the situations is when I started to get more direction on my preps. So planning is key for everything. If you plan to bug out, make sure you write a list of locations, transport options, depending on the situation. If your car's out of, if you've not got the car, what's your alternative transport plans? All stuff like that. So plan, bug in, bug out, and that's gonna drive the direction you go for everything else. Next is the very basics of human life. Okay, food and water. Yes, you can go without food for a while. Yes, you can go out without water for a lot less, but you still can for a very, very short period of time. But these are the building blocks of life. Without food and water, you can have 1,000,000 battery packs and it makes no difference. Okay, so food and water is key. I'm not saying you have to stock a year's supply. If you've got the money, the ability, and all that, excellent, superb, do what you can. But it's more about what's the plan for this. Okay, so you've got X amount at home, you've got 30 days, for example, worth of food. Plan your meals out, all part of that planning process as well. Don't just fill a cupboard with food, look at it and think, how many meals will this make? How many people have I got to feed with this? Make sure you actually do know where that's going to go. Same with the water. It's all right having a crate of 6 bottles of water, but that will go in no time at all. So think about not just what you're stocking, but where you're going to source future food and future water from. So how you're going to filter rainwater, how you're going to filter river water, so on and so forth. The same with the food. Hunting, foraging, growing your own. I mean, don't just think, oh, it's not a problem. As soon as it happens, I can just grab a bow and go and hunt, a sheep and go and eat that, and it's all wonderful. Be realistic with it. Do you hunt? Have you hunted regular? Do you know where to hunt? Do you know what the availability of livestock's going to be in that kind of situation? Okay, so don't just say, I'll hunt, I'll be fine. Make sure you're planning and thinking about every contingency and every option. Okay, when it comes to stocking food, I've done loads of videos on budget preps, £20 shops, £10 shops. I recommend every time you do a normal shop, just add a £5 or £10 onto that of stuff that you're going to put away as part of your prepper supply. It will soon build up in no time. Trust me, I've run out of space. Next is overlooked a lot is fitness. Okay, this comes into play with your planning. There's no point planning to bug out to the middle of Wales, which is 60, 70 miles from your current location, without a car, with a 3-day bag on your back, if you have never done anything like that before. Fitness is going to play a massive part in this. Be realistic with what you can do, be realistic with about your abilities, and train. Now, I'm not saying you have to go to the gym and train every day, stuff like that. If you can, brilliant, wonderful, healthy body, healthy mind, big fan of it. But if your plan is to bug out and walk 10 miles with all your kit on your back, earmark a day and try it. You know, make sure you've got contingencies, make sure you've got somebody who can come and pick you up if you have to, you know, prep and plan for that actual test, but make sure you try it. Can you do that 10 miles? At the end of that 10 miles, are you going to be able to defend yourself if you need to, or are you completely wiped out? Yeah. So make sure your fitness is not just worked on, you know, improve if you can, but it's taken into account. It should be all part of your plan. Don't plan to be John Rambo when you're not. Okay, it's just not realistic, and you'll soon feel the sharp reality of that when SHTF. Speaking of fitness as well, we have defense. So defense is probably not before some of the other points, but it's one I've put in there, and I'm just clicking down the order I've got them in. But defense is a big one for me because I am a prepper that believes you can do stuff with communities. I would like to help people in that kind of situation. I'd like to think people will come together. But I'm also a realist. I'm also not completely naive. There's going to be elements. There's elements now in peace times that will rob your house, take your stuff, take what you've got if they need it. Yeah, that's happening right now. So in a desperate situation, that is going to get worse. There is going to be people like that. I do believe there's strength in numbers, but that might not always be an option. So have a defense plan, a home defense plan, securing it. There's also the method of making it look like nobody's in there. So it's not a target, you know, making yourself, you know, grey out. A home defense plan. Make sure you've always got a bug out plan, even if your plan is to bug in. Because if 10 people start coming through your front door, you're not going to be John Rambo with your kitchen knife. It's not worth putting your family, yourself at risk. Get out. Yeah. It's not worth your life. So defense is a big one to think about. It's a lot easier in some countries where you can have lots more options to defend yourself, we shall say. You can still have them options in the UK, bit more difficult, bit more red tape to get around, bit more restricted, but there's loads of options for defense. There's loads of videos that I've done on it. I've started looking at crossbows and bows. I have already purchased some, but it's not just going to buy it, let it sit there and gather dust, and when I come to need it, I'll just try and wing it. I'm going to a range. I'm trying these things. I'm testing it. I'm training with it. Make sure the skills match what your defense plan. Don't just buy a big sword thinking, I'll defend myself with this, and then when you come to swing it, you've no idea what you're doing. So when it comes to defense, self-defense, home defense, family defense, vehicle defense even, have a plan in place. Think about it. Make sure that is one of your thoughts on everything you do. You need to protect yourself, protect your family. Clothing and shelter. This is relevant to bugging in and bugging out. Now, more so bugging out, obviously. You want your shelter. It has to be tested, weatherproof, you know, be able to take a licking, be able to be repaired is a good one. Okay, so if you get a tent and it does have an accident, there is a cut in it, something like that, you can repair it. So Put a lot of thought into your shelter and have multiple options, have backups. Yeah, don't just have a single tent, have an extra tarp, have things like that. Practice skills where it comes to shelter building as well. I'd highly recommend that. There's loads of courses for doing that. I think the Bug Out Shop do run a course like that, but shelter building courses can be all over. You can study the way people do survive in wilderness and go out and try it yourself in the forest. So shelter should always be kept in mind because we need to protect ourselves for the elements. Clothing, if you're staying in the house, think about if you've not got power and you can't wash things and things are going to start to wear out with time. So think about durability, strength, practicality. When it comes to bugging out, the same sort of thing, wear and tear, repairing. Also, if you think it's going to be a hostile situation, think about the camouflage aspect of that clothing. I wouldn't recommend in an urban environment going out in full military fatigues on your bug out journey, because you're going to look like a target. You're going to look like somebody who's got equipment, who's a target, or who's somebody that people are going to latch onto. So maybe be a bit more incognito with it. Plain clothing's darker colors, so they are camouflage. Don't go out in fluorescent colors, light your way all the way into the forest. But yeah, lots of thought needs to go into the clothing as well. That's the fundamentals of any of it. So maybe if to put it in an order, I would say food and water, plans, food and water, defense, fitness, clothing. Okay, so think about them elements, but the main one for me is planning. Write down plans, write down ideas. That will spiral off naturally into shopping lists and everything. I've got lists galore. Situation, what I need, what I have, what I'd like, what I need to buy, and what I'd like to buy. So, must-haves and wants. There's a big difference. Prioritize your spending on that front. Okay, don't go out and just spend a fortune if you haven't got it on all these things at once. It's a gradual process. Last is specialist preps. Now, if the reason you're prepping is, let's just pull out an example, some sort of EMP, and it cuts all the power off. So part of your preps, you want to be able to generate power. You want to be able to have alternative ways of doing everything that usually would require electricity. This is what I would call specialist preps. If you're prepping for fallout, gas masks and NBC suits, which I've done videos on, that would be specialist preps. I'm saying specialist because it's for a specific event, a specific type of situation. This should be your last port of call for me. I think you need to make sure everything else is in place before you go out. Don't just go out and the first thing you buy as a prepper is a full NBC suit, gas mask, and a giant saber, all right? Because without the food and water, it's going to be useless. Without a plan, it's going to be useless. This is the last thing on your list. This is when you're at a stage where you think, right, I'm prepared for a week where I can't go in the shops. So once you're prepared for that kind of basic situation, that's when you want to step into your specialist preps. We'll go more into different specialist preps in later videos as we run through different scenarios. They're coming soon, where we will actually go through the scenarios, actually physically try and emulate them scenarios to see how we do and what we think we need, and evaluate it afterwards of what we could have done better. That's it for now. If you're new to prepping, don't forget to check out the startprepping.co.uk website. It's a great little mini guide. Don't forget to check out all the different communities on here, and ukprep.co.uk, which is a forum. New people are more than welcome there, even if you've never prepped before. Okay. Thanks for watching the video. Don't forget to hit like and subscribe, and I will see you all in the next one. Bye. Yeah.